Hey viewers, and welcome to another maintenance video. Today's video is about limit screws, what they are, what they do, and why it's so important to maintain them properly. Okay, so today's video really resulted from this bike that came in. There was a whole host of things wrong with it. Most of it's been done, but the reason for the video is back here. So this is a brand new wheel that we've actually put on, but what happened is somebody had incorrectly set the limit screws and it resulted in the rear mech ending up into the spokes, and most of the spokes are broken. So this is the wheel that was actually on there, and if you have a look at the drive side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's about 8 if not more spokes on there that are actually broken, and it was really beyond it was cheaper just to put a new wheel on there. So to save yourself a whole load of expense, keep on top of the limit screws, watch this video, set them correctly. I mean, this customer's quite lucky in that only damage it did was to the spokes. It can potentially damage all the way back here to your chain rings. It can snap your derailleur off. It can also break your hanger. So that's the reason for the video. Hopefully it'll save you a whole lot of time and money. So where are the limit screws? You'll see them here and here on the rear mech. And I think if we can zoom in, you might be able to make out there's a little H on that one and an L on that one, and on the front derailleur they might look slightly different, but you've got one there and one there, and I don't know if we can see that or whether it's clear enough. There it says high and there it says low. You might say high and low, it might just have a H or an L stamped on there. Let's see if I can go in a bit more. There we go. So what do they do? So here we are at the back of the bike. As we know, the derailleur, the rear mech, takes your chain exactly where you want it. So here we've got a 6 or 5 speed, and that is your high gear, that is your low gear. And what the limit screw do, the job of the limit screw is to stop the chain going any further on this side than we actually need. And on this side, it stops it going into the spokes. Now this side, if it does go in, worst case scenario might be that it gets jammed somewhere in here, your chain might snap, it might put some stress on your chain rings at the front. But really the expense is when it goes over on this side, like this customer experience where it went into the spokes, took the derailleur with it. You can potentially have a big bill of all the spokes, rear mech might break, the mech hanger or the derailleur hanger might break as well. Now how to adjust them. What I normally do is, the cable could potentially be giving you an incorrect reading on where the limit screw is stopping the chain. So what I normally do is just take the cable out of the equation. So find where your cable is clamped on. In our case, it's just there. And it's on with a number 9 nut. Just undo it, take out the cable, so the cable is now loose. So any movement now in the derailleur will purely be the derailleur itself and the limitations of the limit screws. The cable's completely out of the equation. So if we have a look in this instance, the limit screw are completely off because we've got the highest cog here and we've got our guide and jockey wheels, and they're completely misaligned. If anything, if you watch my screwdriver, should be somewhere over there. So I'm just going to go to this side, find the H or the high screw and start turning in, and you should start seeing the jockey wheels move in until they're aligned. So here we go, they're on the move. And we've now got the jockey wheels or the guide wheels and the cog all aligned. At this point, once you've got the high limit screw set, I just put the cable back on and pinch it. Okay, now that we've clamped the cable, just change your gears and make sure it's coming back down onto the high gear, and that's absolutely fine. It's not doing it too easily. and it's not dropping off this side, we're fine. Once you've done that, change your gears, move up the cassette, and it's time to set your high limit screw. I've got another video on indexing. This one's just about limit screws, so I'll cover indexing on another one. Now this is the importance of the low limit screw. You'll see that this one's setting correctly and it wants to jump off the top cog and into the spokes. There we go. So we need to set that low limit screw. Okay, so the way that I set the low limit screw, the one that stops it going into the spokes, is I find the low limit screw and I over tighten it. I probably tighten it a little bit more than I should do, so that the gears don't make the change from the second top one to the last one. So if I just demonstrate now. Now I've just changed into the lowest gear, yet it's not making the change because the limit screw is stopping it. Now still with the shifters in the highest gear, I just come back to the limit screw and I back off and keep backing off, so anti-clockwise with this screw, about half or a quarter turn at a time until it makes that change. Now you'll hear from that clattering that it wants to make it maybe one more half turn. And it makes the change. So I'd rather have a little bit of difficulty to go into that gear than go in too easily and jump into the spokes. I think we've set it correctly there. I'm just going to test both the top and the bottom limit screw. Just to make sure that it is limited, I'm just going to keep pulling on the shifter here to tension the cable a bit more, and it's not going any further, and that should have limited it. Just a couple of points. If you have a look at these screw heads, these are actually quite decent, but some of them can be really small and quite brittle, quite soft. So use the correct screwdriver. Make sure it's a nice, I could probably do with a better one than this actually, but one that doesn't wear off. Also, if you're looking for them and you can't find them, the amount of times we get bikes in, and just because of the muck and the dirt and everything on this, so sometimes you have to give them a little wash and then they expose themselves. You can actually see where it is. So make sure you've got the right tool for the job and don't round them off. Now we'll just have a look at the front derailleur. Pretty much the same thing, same principles. We'll have a look at it. Okay, so here we have the front mech, very rusty I know, and here are the limit screws. So if we just zoom in there, we've got high just there, low just there. And the way I do it is, once again, start with the smallest cog. So if we have a look at there, the innermost chain ring, get the chain on that, and on the back, put it on the biggest cog on the back, and then just unclamp. So if we look around there, there's a little clamp clamping the cable, unclamp the cable, same reasons again. So we're taking cable tension out of the equation, and we know that it's purely the limit screws that are doing their job. There we go. There's the clamp, clamping the cable. Just going to undo that. So there's the cable out of the equation. Now just looking down there, this is already correctly adjusted, but I just wanted to show. So here we have we're looking for the low, so it's this one here. And as I turn it, you should see the mech move. And all we're trying to do is, if you look here, the chain should just miss the inside of that rear mech. So this is the maximum that it's going to go in that direction because it's already on the big wheel, big cog at the back. So you just want to adjust it, keep tightening that until there's just a little bit of a gap right there. And when you turn and there's no noise, there shouldn't be too big a gap where there's potential for it to slip off, and it shouldn't be so tight that the rattle is causing a nuisance, a noise when we're riding. Once we've done that, just clamp up that cable again, and we're ready to set the other limit screw, the high limit screw. Okay, so the cable's been clamped up. Next step is to set the high limit screw on the front derailleur. What I've done is, on the back derailleur, I've gone to the furthest cog, the furthest small cog, so the fastest one, so the furthest one in that direction. So here we are on the smallest cog here, that would be a fastest one. So basically we're making sure the chain is the furthest way this way. And what we're trying to do is limit the derailleur so it stops the chain from dropping off this side, but at the same time there's enough gap just there so that when you're pedaling there's no noise. So just go in and either anti-clockwise to move the derailleur this way, or turn that clockwise inwards to move the derailleur in that direction. And here I think we have it just right, so if I just shift up, you'll see there's a nice little gap there, and there should be no noise when pedaling. Okay, I hope that's been useful. That's our little video on limit screws, both on your rear mech and on your front mech. As you saw from the beginning of the video, it's very important that we set them correctly. It's one of those things, once you've set them and nobody's fettled with the bike, you don't really need to go back to it, but it is very important that they're set correctly, or else it can be very, very costly. This customer has had broken spokes. He was quite lucky in that his rear mech or his hanger wasn't significantly damaged. We could just straighten it out. So the idea was to hopefully save our viewers some time and a whole load of money just by doing some basic maintenance. It's very important to maintain your bike. As ever, if you've liked the video, please like, follow and subscribe. And if there's anything locally in terms of services or maintenance of your bike, any help or advice or questions, please drop us a line.